I now begin an introduction to the book of Obadiah, a very tiny prophecy against Edom. The theme of this book, which is really only one chapter, is an oracle against Edom. The Edomites were the descendants of Esau, the son of Isaac, and the twin brother of Jacob. They settled south of the Dead Sea and east of the Dead Sea. Here you have the Dead Sea in south and east. Around the Seir Mountains would be the territory of the Edomites. As far as authorship, there's no question that Obadiah wrote the book. The question is, well, who is Obadiah and when did he live? There are some 12 Obadiahs mentioned in the Old Testament. The name means servant of Yahweh, kind of like Abdullah in Arabic means servant of Allah. But anyway, there's 12 Obadiahs in the Old Testament, and none can be identified with any confidence with the Obadiah of this book. And as a result, the date of the book is disputed. It all hinges on one passage, whether it dates really early to the reign of Jehoram, or whether it dates to after the destruction of Jerusalem in 586. After 586 would be the majority view, and it relates to statements about Edom in Psalms, for example, Psalm 137:7, which condemns Edom for egging on the Babylonians, and Lamentation condemns Edom in their role in the destruction of Jerusalem in 586. And so that makes a very plausible background. The key verses to decide where they belong historically are these in verses 10 through 14, where it speaks of violence done to your brother Jacob. On that day you stood aloof, on the day when strangers carried off his wealth and foreigners entered the gates and cast lots for Jerusalem. You were like one of them, but do not gloat over the day of your brother and the day of his misfortune. Do not rejoice over the people of Judah on the day of their ruin, in the day of distress. Do not enter the gates of my people in the day of their calamity, and so on and so forth. Do not stand at the crossroads to cut off his refugees. Well, there was such an occasion during the reign of Jehoram around 844 BC of invasion by Arabs and Philistines, and Edomites may have joined in on that. But it's probably a little more likely the destruction of Jerusalem in 586 that's in view here. Edom is condemned for their arrogance, and they had reason to be arrogant. They had kind of a secure habitat living in the mountains. You can see the Seir Mountains in the picture. It says, the pride of your heart has deceived you, you who live in the clefts of the rocks and makes your home on the heights. You who say to yourself, who can bring me down to the ground? So Edom's mountainous terrain made it hard to invade and hard to track people down if you even tried to invade. They were also proud of their wealth, but how Esau will be ransacked, his hidden treasures pillaged. They were also proud of their strong allies. All your allies will force you to the border. Your friends will deceive and overpower you. Those who eat your bread will set a trap for you, but you will not detect it. So they had made alliances with people even like Babylon, and they thought they were secure. They were also arrogant over their wisdom. In that day, declares the Lord, will I not destroy the wise men of Edom, the men of understanding in the mountains of Esau? We saw in the book of Job that Eliphaz of Job came from Edom, and perhaps also even King Lemuel in Proverbs 31. Edom is a type of the proud person. Many today think that because they have money or smarts or friends in high places, that they would be hard to be caught, that they can get away with sin. But like Edom, they often learn otherwise. At the end of the book, it speaks of invasion and destruction. And in doing so, it uses the language of the day of the Lord, kind of like Joel does, and Amos in a passage we didn't talk about. It says, "For the day of the Lord is near upon all the nations. As you have done, it will be done to you. Your deeds shall return on your head. And as for you, you have drunk on my holy mountain, so all the nations will drink continually, and they will drink and swallow, and it shall be as though they had never been. But in Mount Zion there will be those who escape, and it shall be holy, and the house of Jacob shall possess their own possessions. The house of Jacob will be a fire, and the house of Joseph a flame, and the house of Esau stubble. And they shall burn them and consume them, and there shall be no survivor for the house of Esau." It turns out that Esau did not last. They eventually were displaced by the Nabateans from their homeland, and they had to go farther to the west into what became southern Judah. Their names were changed to the Idumeans, and they were conquered by the successors of Judas Maccabeus and forced to convert to Judaism. And eventually they cease to exist as a separate people group. There are no Edomites today, just as Obadiah predicted. Again, those in the Negev shall possess Mount Esau, and those in the Shephelah, that's in Israel, shall possess the land of the Philistines. They shall possess the land of Ephraim and the land of Samaria, and Benjamin shall possess Gilead, and the exiles of this host of the people of Israel shall possess the land of the Canaanites as far as the Zarephath, and the exiles of Jerusalem who are in the Sepharad shall possess the cities of the Negev. Again, the Negev is the south where the Edomites ended up going. But Savior shall go up on Mount Zion to rule Mount Esau, and the kingdom shall be the Lord. Under the Hasmoneans, the Edomites were dispossessed. By the way, Herod the Great was half Edomite. Well, that's a brief introduction to the book of Obadiah.